Welcome to I Married a Melchizedek, episode 6, where we discuss many wonderful Melchizedek-like things with Hazel Davies, head Master UNITY Bubble Facilitator, who through this in-depth series shares extremely valuable information learned and experiences experienced during her 18-plus year relationship with Jonathan C.R. Davies, her Melchizedek other half, otherwise known as the wild card of the universe. I'm your host, Renata Duma, and please remember to like, share, and subscribe to this YouTube channel if you are so inclined. Links to all I Married a Melchizedek shows will be listed on the Unity Bubble website at unitybubble.com for now, for your convenience, on a separate page in the drop-down menu. And if you're not familiar with the Unity Bubble living process, as we slowly transition the name, I strongly encourage you to do so, as it is truly one of the greatest gifts to humanity since the Law of One. And now, once again, without further ado, here's Hazel. Hazel, welcome to your show.
Hello, happy spring, Renata. I'm really attempting to persuade it to be spring.
Yeah, okay. Yesterday. I can see that. Look at you with your sunflowers. You've put out the incantation, and
I have. I actually was working in the garden all day yesterday.
Oh my!
My muscles are telling me that I do it. It's all good. It feels good.
Oh my goodness!
I'm so in love with Gaia at the moment. It's just amazing. It's just incredible.
Well, it must be beautiful where you are, especially because everything's starting to poke its head up. I mean, I'm not that far away from you, and everything is starting to come out. I saw a wild turkey in front of my door the other day. I've not another deer. I've only seen 2 deer so far, but it was a big turkey. It was a big guy. Yeah. So that was interesting.
Things are moving.
Things are moving and getting greener and more beautiful every day. And thank goodness, because not a moment too soon.
I know. It was a long winter.
It was a long winter for many reasons.
Yes.
For many reasons. It's been 2 long winters for many reasons. But anyway, so before we get into the show, I have a question to bounce off of you. And it's a bit of a surprise because it sure surprised the heck out of me last night. And I'm not talking about a turkey.
All right, let's hear it.
All right. So I've been going out every night since it's, warm enough not to freeze completely. And, Skywatch. And every night, a few ships. And minimum 3, maximum 7 so far. And as I went out last night, I only saw a couple, but I was sitting just in front of the door. You know the door very well. And for the audience members who don't know, I actually live in the place where Jonathan used to live. So his energy's all around here. And all of a sudden, to the left of me, maybe 20 feet to the left of me, like roof level, a orb that looked like a shooting star went right by, like that fast. And it went into the house. And I was like, whoa. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay.
He's checking things out.
No, 5 minutes later, it came out the other side. Zoom. I mean, your guess is as good as mine. Was it him? You think? I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. It was so obvious. It was so blatant. And I'll tell you something. It's the first time I've photographed lots of orbs, but it's the first time I've actually seen one. So I think we're, things are right.
Yeah, the veils are getting thinner, and we see more, and we can. And that would be very typical of him. He's just checking things out. I mean, he can do it. He doesn't have to come in through the doorway. I mean, we know
No,
but he
no.
would choose to do something like that because that would be more meaningful, I suppose.
Yeah, and it was, he didn't wait very long until I sat down. Like, it was just like 2 minutes after I sat down, right? It's like, okay. And it was, I swear, okay, so the length of the light of the I would say it was 30 feet. So
Wow.
you can see a distinct
Wow.
beginning and a long tail.
Was there any color in it at all?
No, it was just a white, pure white flash.
That's cool. Well, yeah, I would say, most, because your place is bubbled. So, I mean, it's going to be very, very open to higher energies anyway.
Yeah.
But that specifically would be, it was him.
Okay. Well, I actually, I wasn't sure. I asked Stan upstairs. I said, do you know if Jonathan actually bubbled the whole property? And he said, I don't think so. I think he just did the house. So I can't remember when it was. I was doing a session with someone, and as I was finishing, he was like, no, hang on, I'm not done yet. And he showed me this tree line here. And then he showed me a sphere. Because like, so it's very visual for me, right? And I'm like, what do you want? Oh, bubble the property. Right? I was that obvious, right? So yeah, so I did, again, in case whatever, because there have been some occurrences with neighbors that I'm not very happy about. So I said it can't hurt. So I did it again. But anyway.
Yeah, generally speaking, when you do properties, it's good, and they would know this, the elementals need to leave before you do the bubbling. And they would know that. Jonathan would have taken care of that because it's such a different frequency to them that it actually is uncomfortable for them. So what we came to know the best way to do it was to tell them, we're going to be bubbling this property or whatever that is. So they toddle on off.
Right.
And then after it's bubbled and it's cleared, then they can come back in and it's fine for them. But and he would have taken care of that to do that.
You see, and here's another reason we're doing I Married a Melchizedek, because who would have known that? Right? And shared it, right? So,
well, I think at first we were doing that, and then we were kind of told that it's causing some uncomfortableness with the elementals. So please just tell them to like vacate for a few hours. That's all. It's not. I mean, time is how we make it. But
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, so there you go. We had a little we had a visitation pre-show.
Yeah, there you go.
Pre-show visit.
I know when I moved into my place in Orangeville, not this place before, and a friend of mine said, take a picture of your living room. I don't know what it looks like. So I did, and it was this stuff all over. There's boxes and everything. And I sent it off to her. I never really thought about it. And she emailed me back and she said, who's your pink friend? And I looked at the photograph again, and there's this big swath right across the room, and it's this magenta pink. Magenta is that's the way Jonathan shows himself to me. Right. And this big magenta thing right across the living room. And I hadn't even noticed it. So he was checking out the place again.
Yeah. Making sure everything was the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Oh, isn't that great? Alrighty, so let's continue with our discussion on the protocols from the last episode. And let's look at the flow.
Okay.
And we also talked about resistance in the last couple of episodes. So how do we tie that in with the flow, actually?
Okay, so the flow came about a year after the bubble had been finished, and we'd been working with people, And we wanted to know how it was going. And so Jonathan had a conversation with the bubble. And the end result of that conversation was that human beings are very resistant. They're resistant to doing their work. Like everything is in the bubble. There is parts of the removals that are remove the resistance to something, and then an infusion of acceptance of, in the divine quality of it. So in itself, the bubble is perfect. It is pure. But in a perfect world, you see, we wouldn't need anything more than the bubble itself, but it's not perfect. And human beings have so many reasons to be resistant that they needed something extra, like an extra tool, so that it could specifically address resistance and then give them this tool so that then they could release to the bubble. So the question really came as, okay, so they're resistant. There's resistance to, what is it? What is it that they're resistant to? And it really comes down to resistance of change, or resistance to change, whatever that means. And for whatever reason, there will be many reasons, because it works the way that it is, or they don't even know. We can go into subconscious resistances, unconscious resistances. We don't know, but they're still resistant. So when you're resistant, when one is resistant, it means that you're not open and willing to change. So you can be resistant and have resistance and then go, I wonder what that's about. I think that I would like to change that. And that means that you're willing and open to make an energetic change, an energetic shift. But if you're resistant and not open, then it becomes tense. It becomes that you're closed to change, and you hang on to the misaligned properties that you had. So that becomes the stagnation. If you think about a river flowing, the river will flow until if you were to throw rocks in it or dead leaves or whatever it is, the river stops flowing. So you could, use the analogy of the dead leaves or the twigs or the rocks or whatever it is those are our issues, and they stop the flow. And that's why we call it the flow, because it's getting into the flow of life. So really it becomes to a help to looking at the issues that don't work, which are out of alignment. So fear, anxiety, regret, remorse, revenge, any of those, and they hold a frequency. All those issues hold a frequency, and they are food for the bad guys. Right. So what we want to do is to remove those, so that we then are left with the divine qualities of joy, of spontaneity, what we would call the childlike qualities of divineness, the goodness, the joy of living, these curiosity, like a child would be.
Yeah, none of which does the bad guys any good.
No, it doesn't. And if you see, this minute that we all focus on what's bad, it's really not doing much good.
Yeah. And well, then there's, of course, we could get into, the dualism and the good and the bad. I mean, every being deserves to exist under the sun, right? It doesn't, whether their intention is whatever their intention is, they still have the right to life. As we've discussed before, when we go into the Melchizedek arena, and we sometimes have to clear little nasties, they're programmed to be nasty. They don't know anything else, right? I mean, you've even explained that to me.
Well, not all. Every being is not all good or all bad. There is some of both. It comes down to how do you live? What is the way of living?
Exactly.
And the open and willingness is not just, oh, I'm open and willing while I'm doing a session with you. That's great. But when I get back into my regular life, I won't be so open and willing because,
right.
And all these reasons. So it becomes a way of being to be open and willing all the time. It's not easy. This is not, I mean, that's why we call it work. It's not easy.
Oh no, and it's particularly not even a good idea unless you are bubbled to be all that open these days, because then you are opening yourself up to a lot of potential unwanted visitations, correct?
Well, open and willing to the higher levels. No,
no, absolutely, but yeah, I'm just using it as an analogy for just segueing to the protection part of the bubble, right? Because there may be a fear of being open and willing all the time because of the negative unseen influences that are around. They are around. So one of the great positive aspects of the unity frequency is the protection, correct?
Yes, we don't want to make people open to being like naive and gullible, things like that.
Yes, exactly.
But the protection is a very high level, 8th dimensional shell around a person with the bubble. So you can be assured that you are protected.
Yes, exactly.
And then not reinfected, you see. Because without the bubble, you can let something go, but if you still have those doorways open, they'll come back in again.
Yeah, exactly.
So this way, they just ricochet off and go somewhere else.
Right. Correct. So I'd like to talk a little bit more about the word that you said, alignment, because that's really, I remember Jonathan talking about, well, is it in alignment or is it out of alignment? And that was pretty much how he would, from my recollection, he would sort of ascertain whether something was good or bad, for lack of a better expression. So can you talk a little bit more about alignment, and in particular how the flow sets things up for the person to be more in alignment with the following protocols?
Well, what we're talking about with doing the personal work is to be in alignment with your soul path, with your soul. So it provides a way to be more in aligned with the path that you chose to come into this life to experience. Because if you're talking about being in alignment, it depends what level you're talking. Because I mean, if you go up to the very highest level of source, then everything is in alignment, because everything is allowed. Because if it wasn't, it wouldn't be even possible. So then as you step down from source, are you talking in alignment with the creator God of this universe, whatever name you want to pick for that? Or are you talking about being in alignment with your soul path? So it depends what the duality in this third dimensional energy band that we live in. We talk about good and bad, right and wrong, but on some level, it's all right. Because of the experience that maybe you came down to experience. So that it would be an experience for you to work through, and that would be part of the soul. It's the journey. It's the soul journey that when we talk about being in alignment.
Right. And it actually helps a lot to get the message across, I feel, because when I'm working with someone and I just say, well, do you feel that your behavior was in alignment with your higher self or with your heart? or was it out of alignment? And it's easy for them to tune into that. It's not about right or wrong, but when you say it just in that way, it's almost like, wow, okay, like I can really feel that.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Really feel
the feeling. The feeling. And generally they either feel it in their heart or in their gut, or a combination of both.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And if it feels good, if it feels right, then it's in alignment. And that's very easy for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very easy to say, how does it feel? Because feelings are deeper. They're deeper than emotions. Emotion is just the outward expression of the feeling in many different ways. But when you go deeper down, the feeling is good or bad.
Yeah.
Or right or wrong, or whatever way, in alignment or out of alignment.
Yeah, that's right. I always say the word emotion is energy in motion.
Yes, exactly.
Energy in motion.
Yes.
Okay, so I'd also like to touch on something while I have you here. Something we also brought up in the last episode, and that was when about a year and some ago, when I got particularly interested in the Christ consciousness aspect of the Unity Bubble. And you said, I remember writing you an email, and I get this email back, well, just let's have a meeting about let's have a meeting about, and I'm like, okay. So and then and then we both came to the Zoom meeting, and we had the same page open to the same book, right? Of Jonathan's book. And we were like, well, there it is, there it is. So so it's just, I guess I was particularly resonating with that aspect of the work. It was my time to resonate with that part. So can you go over, because it's quite brilliant, and I'm not sure that everyone's aware of it if they haven't read the books or don't even remember. Can you go over the 3 basic principles that were asked to be infused into the Unity Bubble by Christ, through the Christ consciousness? That's fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much that one could go into when talking about the Christ consciousness, but this is specifically to help people move forward, because you try and explain the whole thing, not that I could, but it's all very fascinating. But the elements that we concentrated on are what we were given, and they were given to us from our conversation with Jesus when we had, which are in the books. So he basically said there's 3 elements of you to be aware of for this work. And the first element is the development of the compassionate heart. Firstly for oneself, and then also for others. So going, okay, we're working on that, because this is an aspect of unconditional love, which is a whole different conversation as well. So the first element is to develop the compassionate heart. The second element, and he kind of said, this is the sticky one. And I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
I thought the compassionate heart was a bit tricky too.
Yeah.
But anyway, so the second element is to be the best that one can be in every moment. So like, we got a bit of work to do though. Just a bit, So yeah, it's the fulfillment of self with a capital S. So to be the greatest that one can be in every moment, no matter what is going on around you, to be able to be in the fullness of self, which is of course the self-mastery aspects that we deal with. So first, a compassionate heart. Second, to be the best that you can be in your fullness. And then the third one, he said, that automatically leads to being in service.
Correct.
Because he said this, because once you've got that, then what else do you do? So those were the 3 elements that were given. Because, and what he said was, a lot of people go into service really before they're ready. It's not that it's wrong, and it's coming from a heart place. However, that can lead to burnout. Because if you're not secure in yourself, you're not advanced enough in your energetics to let the issues of others come through you and flow through you, because you still have the issues yourself. So any issues that your client would bring to the session are going to trigger you because they're still there. If they're not there, you will just be able to flow the energy through. So he said that's really the best to go into service at that level. He said, of course, people don't do that because they want to help. Right. And that's all fine and dandy. That's just explaining what happens. And then people say, oh, I had to take a week off because I was so burnt out, or I'm so empathetic, I take on everybody else's stuff. No, actually, you don't take it on. You are actually triggering yourself with the unresolved issue within self.
Right.
Sorry, I went off on a.
And that's okay. No, I'm sure you're answering somebody's question. Apparently, we're answering people's questions without even.
Apparently so.
I wonder how that's happening. Yeah. I'm actually hearing something. When you were describing the second element of the Christ consciousness, the infusion into the unity bubble, and the concept of being the best that you can be at every moment, for some reason I'm being guided to ask you about so does that mean it's bad, or that you're not in your Christ consciousness when you get angry or when you're upset? So managing those emotions. So does that mean that we're always supposed to be just like absolutely and 300% compassion and not allow anything to bounce off of us in any way? I'm thinking just for myself, because a couple of months ago something really triggered me, and I went into, and it was a small thing. And I tried to be in compassion. I tried to, because somebody really upset me. And it took me like 24 hours to go, okay, this is disproportionate to the impetus for whatever it was that triggered whatever it is. So I was able then to understand that I needed to release something else within me that was another layer that became available to release. And then oddly enough, as soon as I did that, I had this huge burst of love for the person that actually triggered me. Yeah. Right? So can you comment on that?
But that's perfect. That is absolutely it, because there is something that is called righteous anger. It's not that all anger is bad. But in the case that you're talking about, it triggered something within you. And then when you are able to find that and release that, because it's never about the other person.
No.
When we're doing this work, and my phrase is always stick a bag over their head, because it's not about them. What is it in you that is being triggered? And, it doesn't go down very well sometimes, because it's always, you want to point the finger and all that. But once you get over that, it's like, what is that? What is that in me? What is it? Is that not feeling good enough thing again? Or is that control thing again? Or is that, all those things that we become familiar with our own journey. And then we realize that it's another level of that. And exactly what you're saying is, when you find that and able to release it, the compassionate heart shines out.
Yeah. And it was like really weird. It's like all of a sudden, oh my God, I'm so grateful to that person for triggering me that way, because wow, like I've just had a huge breakthrough myself, so thank you for that, even though as hard as it was and as inappropriate as it may have seemed in the 3D world, whatever, right? It was a perfect pantomime for me to act out a whole other level of awareness, right? So I was very grateful for it. Yeah.
So to answer the other part of your question, I don't think that we're supposed to go around just in, la la land and everything is, pink and fuzzy and all that. It's not really about that.
Yeah.
It's about having the fullness of the experience. But the question would be, if something is bothering you, first of all, is that something within me? Or is that on a mass consciousness level, that what is happening, on the planet and all that? That's another stage of it. It's where okay, so what he's saying is where you're holding your frequency. So it's not about ignoring, it's not about deflecting, it's not about, thinking that everything is all love and light, and all that. It's not about that. It's where are you holding your, going back to the how do you live? Do you live from a place of a higher frequency, which we're going towards this fifth dimensional frequency. So it's not that third is going to disappear. Third will always be there, but are you looking at things from a third dimensional aspect, or are you looking at them from a fifth dimensional aspect? So
interesting. Well, I think we're going to need to get into that a little bit more. I think I uncovered something here. Opened a can of words here, because maybe we need to talk about this perspective a little bit more, because I think it's very, very, very important to understand, and then we can always tie intention into that perspective, because that's another huge element of the work, as we say, and for next time. But right now I think it's time
for the Jonathan story.
For the Jonathan story. That's right.
Another Jonathan story.
That's right. So something about an apple pie.
Oh my goodness. Oh yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. So I have to set the scene then. Absolutely. Okay. So it's another motorhome story, as so many of them are, because that's when a lot of things happened. Okay. So we're in Arizona, or anyway, it doesn't matter. We're in the motorhome, and at that time, internet was not like it is now. And we had what they called it a pocket mail, which was a little device that you had to go find a public telephone, dial a certain number, and then open up this little gadget and put it to the phone, and it would blah, 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 and we would get our email messages.
Oh, okay.
So this was how it was. So Jonathan had the habit of getting up early in the morning. This was when there were still public phone booths.
Right.
He'd get up early in the morning and go and get our pocket mail. Now, okay, so that's the scene. But to backtrack, the day before, Jonathan had thought that we had an apple pie in the freezer in the motorhome. And he's like, oh, I really want apple pie tonight. Isn't that great? So he goes to the freezer and there's no apple pie. Oh. And he said, oh, geez, I was really thinking about that. Oh, it would have been so tasty, and I'll just remember next time we'll buy extra apple pie. So,
right.
End of story. Really, life goes on. So the following morning, he's in his truck going out with the pocket mail to find the phone. There's no traffic. I mean, it's very early. And he sees something on the road, in the middle of the road in front of him. So he stops the truck. There's nobody there. And what is it in the middle of the road is an apple pie in a box with a ribbon around it. Like, we don't usually eat roadkill,
No.
So he comes back to the motorhome and he says, look what I have. And like, I have no words. Like, what do you say? What do you say? But
oh my God, no!
The perfect apple pie, and of course they have to do that. It had to be in a box and it had to have a ribbon around. Otherwise, you're not going to just pick an apple pie up off the street.
No, of course.
So it had to make an impression on him. And then that actually led us to, did he create that or did he manifest that? And that is a whole other.
Oh my God. Okay. That's a whole other show.
That's a whole other show. But yeah, so that's the apple pie story. Yeah. And we did cook it and we did eat it and it was delicious.
God. Well, I'll tell you, it's the more I see, the more I experience, the more I'm very seldom surprised these days, you know, like it's it takes a lot to surprise me. So, you know, as we move into these next days, as we get you know, as those veils start coming down more and more, you know, what can I say? I really encourage, if you don't have a bubble yet, or if your children don't have one, or your pets, your home, whatever, it is such an incredible vehicle for self-exploration and self-mastery. Literally
makes it a lot easier.
It does. It really does. And not to mention, you know, the community of Unity people is so wonderful. And so on that note, you know, reach out to one of us. We'd be very, very happy to offer you a bubble, and yeah, mention it to others, please. So I see we're once again getting close to the end of today's showtime. Tune in again with Hazel and myself in 2 Tuesdays on I Married a Melchizedek, when we not only get to learn much more about the life of a great being, Jonathan C.R. Davies, and the vital legacy he left behind, and Hazel's brilliant recollections thereof. We'll also explore more about the Unity Living protocols, namely breaking the bonds, which for me was a huge kicker, and I'm sure it is for many. We'll talk more about how the protocols are meant to assist humanity and how they do in the most profound ways imaginable. And bear with me for another couple of weeks on the website. This is it. My schedule is clear. And it's happening, and I've got my Unity Living hat on. So once again, I'm your host, Renata Duma, wishing you marvelous days ahead in the full flow of all creation, full of joy, health, true abundance, and positive outcomes. Hazel, thank you for yet another wonderful show. We made it to episode 6. There we go. With much love from Hazel and I to you, till we meet again on the next wise and equally whimsical episode of I Married a Melchizedek. See you then.